Isn't it a beauty? This is a couple days later, of course, but it's around 2:30 p.m. All right, let's continue on with the planting, shall we? One thing to note back here, this is the next bed that's up for being defined or redefined and mulched and cleaned out. There's still work to do in the late fall, but if you guys can check this out, I know it needs to be cleaned out. But here's a yellow twig dogwood. Check out the coloring on these branches. Isn't it spectacular? As you can see on the other side of the bed, there's another yellow twig dogwood right here. It's doing much better. But I do need to go in there and do some selective pruning. All right, after I planted that red twig dogwood in the previous segment, I also planted this lower petalum right here. Okay. So we're going to carry on in this area by the patio and go ahead and plant these 3 little lime hydrangeas. A little trio right here. You can't win. It's either too much sun or it's not enough sun. So,
trust my senses, catch me if I fall. So done with second guessing, you seem to have it all. In loving the for anything emotional too soon. You got my invitation, now the rest is up to you. Kick it, rendezvous, make some time for me and you. Get you over, treat you right. We vibing like kick it, rendezvous.
well, as I plant this last plant, okay, here's a few stats on little lime. It can be in sun or part shade. It gets to be 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. So you want to space it between 3 and 5 feet. It's adaptable to most well-drained soils. You want to prune in the late winter, early spring, because it is a paniculata. So the thing with paniculatas, you could prune the new wood and you'll still get flowers that same year.
Make some time for me and you. Get together, you and I. We vibing like
Yeah, so it's about 4 feet from center of each plant. So that's sufficient space so that they can grow individually, and then when they get to be about 5 to 5.5 feet, they'll merge into a nice hedge.
for anything emotional too soon. You got my invitation, now the rest is up to you. Kick it, rendezvous.
All right, we got those 3 planted. Now we're gonna move to the front of the border, get those plants in front of the Japanese maple. That hedge of spirea and the 2 beautyberries. So I think it's only right that I highlight these two shrubs that I'm about to plant. They're called Calicarpa dichotoma, or early amethyst, purple beautyberry. Purple beautyberry is a small, compact, deciduous shrub, so it loses its leaves in the late fall, early winter. It grows up to 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and it needs to be in a full sun to a part shade situation. It's fairly adaptable to most soil types, but I know back here it's more on the acidic side, and it's very loamy and high draining. It blooms on new growth. In the spring, prune stems back to 6 inches to encourage compactness and flowering. So these are the berries I was talking about. Very beautiful. I recently had a hard frost and the berries are starting to shrivel a little bit. And of course, all the leaves fell off. So once this area comes into fruition, this Japanese maple is going to practically glow and be on fire in the late fall. Then you'll have the late season color on the hydrangeas, echoing that oak leaf hydrangea behind there. And then in the foreground, you're gonna have these two beautyberry bushes that are going to really highlight and sparkle. In the very front layer, you're gonna have these gold mound spireas, which generally have this coloring, the late season. And I have these other 3 over here. And then you're gonna have this loropetalum behind that. So this area of the bed is going to have year-long color and interest. Look how root bound this plant is. That's why it wouldn't come out of the pot. See, when you think you have a design in play, then you got to work around roots. It totally changes up your design. So those that know me and my planting style, I tend to use a lot of spirea. In this case, I have 6 gold mound spirea in a beautiful hedge. I'll put a picture up on the screen as to how they look in their prime form. A few tidbits on gold mound spirea. It is a deciduous plant, even though in my zone 7A, it tends to keep its leaves for a considerable amount of time during the year. Here it is, late fall going into winter, and it still has its foliage. So they bloom in late spring with these purple to pink type blooms. They're very small, but they're numerous all over the plant. Those blooms are great contrast with the chartreuse or lime green colored foliage during the early spring. A few specks on the sides. They're about 3 to 4 feet tall by 3 to 4 feet wide. So here's some of the auburn colored foliage this late into the season. It's the end of November, and this is how gold mound spirea looks. Here's some remnants of the old flower heads. All right, garden friends, so that main bed is fully planted up. I may have to go in there and pop in a few bulbs for the spring. But now I'm moving over to this side of the pergola. Now in between these two screens, I have this, I think it's called a perlite Viburnum. It was there before the screens went in, and clearly it's too much up against this post right here. So I'm gonna shift it back probably 2 to 3 feet so it's dead smack in the center of the screens. And then I have these two little Henry sweet spires, one here and one over there, that I'm gonna go ahead and pop in as well. Now check this out, guys. I'm just noticing that this Viburnum has some serious crossed branches, and I think before I replant it, I'm gonna have to do some major pruning, unfortunately. All right, let's bring you guys a little closer to see what's going on here. Now I have to decide what type of shape I would like this plant to develop into. Unfortunately, this one has to go. It's a major branch. So here's where I made that cut. Now I see where the next cut has to go, but I'm very reluctant to cutting it. Wow. It's practically the whole bush. So what'll happen next spring, as we can already see here, okay, there'll be plenty new shoots that will come out from the crown, and it will fill back in. All right, let's get this thing planted. Look at this brilliant fall color. Look at that. All right, garden friends, I want to thank you for hanging with me on this episode of AJ's Green Thumb, and I'll see you on the next one. AJ's Green Thumb.
Have a look.